I missed my husband's last Father's Day. The strange thing is, I didn't know it was the last one. If I had known, I would have answered the phone. I would have canceled my plans. I would have driven across town. I would have done 100 different things. Instead, I silenced the call and promised myself I'd talk to him later. There wasn't a later, and I've spent 3 years living with that. At the time, Noah and I had been divorced for almost 4 years. The divorce itself hadn't been pleasant. Not explosive, not dramatic, just painful. The slow kind of pain that settles into every corner of your life and stays there long after the paperwork is finished. We'd managed to build something resembling peace afterward, mostly for our daughter, Emma. She was 12 when we separated, 16 by the time this story happened, old enough to understand more than we wanted her to, young enough to still need both parents. Noah was the better parent. I can admit that now. At the time, I would have argued, defended myself, listed all the things I did right. But distance has a way of making the truth easier to see. Noah never missed anything. Dance recitals, school plays, parent-teacher conferences, doctor appointments, birthdays. He showed up. Every single time. Even when Emma rolled her eyes. Even when she acted embarrassed. Even when she pretended not to care. Noah always showed up. Father's Day had always been a big deal to him. Not because he wanted gifts, because he loved the rituals, the homemade cards, the bad breakfasts, the silly traditions, the little moments that reminded him he was a father. Every year, Emma would spend weeks planning something. And every year, Noah would act surprised, even though everyone knew he wasn't. The year before he died was no different. At least that's what I thought. The week leading up to Father's Day, Emma seemed distracted, quieter than usual. I assumed it was school stress, college applications, teenage life, something. I didn't ask enough questions. That's another thing I regret. The Friday before Father's Day, Noah called me. I was heading into a dinner reservation. Friends were waiting. I saw his name appear on my phone. I considered answering. Then I remembered I could always call back later. So I sent him to voicemail. The message he left was short. Hey, give me a call when you get a chance. Nothing urgent. Nothing urgent. 3 words that have haunted me ever since. I never called. Not that night. Not the next day. Life got busy. Plans happened. Hours became days. And eventually, I forgot. Sunday morning, Emma left early to spend Father's Day with Noah. I remember teasing her about waking up before noon. She smiled, grabbed a gift bag, and left. When she came home that evening, something felt off. Not dramatic, just different. She seemed emotional, quiet. I asked if everything was okay. She nodded, then went straight to her room. I let it go. Another mistake. Looking back, I realized the signs were everywhere. The problem was that I wasn't looking. 3 weeks later, Noah collapsed while hiking. A massive heart attack. The doctors told us he probably never felt a thing. People say that's comforting. It isn't. Not really. Nothing about losing someone unexpectedly feels comforting. The funeral happened 6 days later. Hundreds of people attended. Friends, coworkers, neighbors, family. People whose lives Noah had touched in ways I never fully appreciated until that week. Everyone had a story. Everyone had a memory. Everyone seemed to have a version of Noah I hadn't known. During the reception afterward, Emma disappeared for a while. I eventually found her sitting alone in one of the church classrooms, holding something, a card. She looked up when I entered, then immediately started crying. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep, somewhere you've been holding shut for too long. I sat beside her. Neither of us spoke for a while. Eventually, she handed me the card. The front said, "Happy Father's Day." I frowned, then opened it. Inside was Noah's handwriting. My stomach dropped immediately. Because this wasn't a card Emma had given him, it was a card he had written for her. The message was simple, short, exactly the kind of thing Noah would write. Emma, if you're reading this, it means I finally convinced you to open the envelope. I know you'll say I'm being dramatic. You're probably right. But just in case life surprises us, there are a few things I want you to know. I love being your dad. More than anything else I've ever done. More than any job. More than any accomplishment. More than anything. You made my life bigger, brighter, funnier, and better. Thank you. Love you, Dad. By the time I finished reading, my hands were shaking. I looked at Emma. What is this? She wiped her eyes, then told me everything. The Father's Day visit, the long conversation, the envelope, the strange instructions. Apparently, Noah had given her several sealed letters that day. One for college, one for her wedding, one for her future children, and one she was only supposed to open if something happened to him. At the time, Emma thought he was being ridiculous. So had Noah. They'd laughed about it, made jokes, then spent the rest of the day together, eating lunch, watching movies, talking. Just talking. The way fathers and daughters do when they don't realize they're making final memories. Then Emma said something that made my chest tighten. He kept asking if you'd called him back. I stared at her. What? She nodded. He asked twice. The room suddenly felt smaller, harder to breathe in. He wanted to tell you something. I swallowed. What? Emma looked away. I don't know. That answer hurt more than if she'd known. Because uncertainty leaves room for imagination. And imagination can be cruel. For months afterward, I replayed that voicemail. Over and over. Nothing urgent. Nothing urgent. Nothing urgent. I became obsessed with figuring out what he wanted. Maybe it was important. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was something profound. Maybe it was something completely ordinary. The truth is, I'll never know. And that's the part that's hardest to accept. A year after Noah died, Emma and I were sorting through some of his belongings. Near the bottom of a desk drawer, I found a small notebook. Inside was a list. Not a bucket list. Not goals. Just notes. Thoughts. Reminders. Little things he wanted to remember. One entry was dated 2 days before Father's Day. I almost skipped it. Then I started reading. The note was only one sentence. Need to call Claire and thank her for giving me Emma. That was it. Nothing more. No dramatic revelation. No hidden secret. No final confession. Just gratitude. I stared at those words until the page blurred. Because suddenly I understood. Noah hadn't called to argue, or complain, or revisit the divorce. He'd called to say thank you. And I never answered. For weeks afterward, I struggled with that realization. Not because I needed forgiveness, because Noah had already given it. The notebook made that clear. The person I couldn't forgive was myself. Eventually, Emma helped me understand something. We were sitting on her college campus one afternoon when I mentioned the notebook. The missed call. The Father's Day card. All of it. She listened quietly, then took my hand. You know Dad wouldn't want this. What? You punishing yourself forever? I laughed bitterly. That's easy for you to say. She smiled. No, it's easy for me to say because I knew him. That shut me up. Then she added, the whole reason he wrote those letters was because he didn't want people carrying things around after he was gone. I looked away. Because she was right. That sounded exactly like Noah. Always trying to make things easier for everyone else. Even at the end. Especially at the end. Today, every Father's Day feels different. There's always a moment when I think about that missed call. That voicemail. That unopened conversation. And for a few seconds, the regret still hurts. I don't think that part ever completely disappears. No. But when I think about Noah now, I don't think about the call anymore. I think about Emma. I think about the incredible daughter he helped raise. I think about the hundreds of ordinary days he showed up for, the games, the recitals, the school projects, the bedtime stories, the countless little moments that built a life. Because in the end, Father's Day wasn't his last Father's Day because he died a few weeks later. It was his last Father's Day because it was the final time he got to spend the day doing what he loved most, being Emma's dad. And if Noah taught me anything, it's that a life isn't measured by the conversations you missed. It's measured by the people who still carry your love long after you're gone. 3 years later, Emma still carries his. And honestly, so do I.